Nicholls fans, and welcome to another episode of Hambini Reams, a special one. I've been contracted for the large sum of fucking zero to comment on this. So I have done this, which is... Now, actually, if you're not familiar with who I am, I'm just basically a fucking lunatic that gets assaulted by vandals from the bicycle industry. Right, where the fuck is the pen? Right, the only thing that is giant around here is my fucking pen. By Hambini, aged 5. You can check me out on the internet, on YouTube, Shitstagram, and on Patreon. Now, at the start of this show, we always check to see if the pen is working. But because this is from a land down under, it's in purple. Now, that does have some sexual connotations, but we'll leave it at that. The pen is working. Yes, right. Here's my specification. We do like to do specifications on the show and my tolerances. Let's start off with a little bit about me. I am a serial gambler. Now, if I was into proper gambling, I would be betting on how shit a bicycle is, but the last time that I got frazzled at the betting shop was actually concerning the Australian cricket team, and we won't go into that, but actually we fucking will. India were dead on going to win that fucking tournament, and I lost 800 quid, so I'm well pissed. Right, I like drinking, and I like everything to do with Australia. So in no particular order, Margot Robbie, Delta Goodrem, Liz Hurley, and my favourite, Julia Gillard, who I think is actually Welsh, but we'll forgive her. Right, so I'm basically Australian in all but accent, can you tell? Right, enough of the looning around. Here is the frame pictures that Cam sent me via Jay, who likes to take the piss out of me and my Hello Hambini fans. At least, you know, I'm not going to go to that lower level. Right, anyway, we piss around. This frame, the Giant frame, is a typical kind of manufacturing process in the sense that it's made in multiple pieces. So if you have a look, that bit looks like it's one bit. This bit around here looks like it's, oops, one piece. Actually, sorry, through there, there's the glue. And then this one's a bit of an interesting one because I was trying to figure out which one the tube is, the historical grandfather piece, and then the child piece, and I think it's like that. So you've got that, and then that butts up. But it wasn't totally clear. In a lot of bikes, that's actually one piece, and the bits are glued together. So the frame's intersecting tubes, let's call them. So these things look to be made separately. Nothing like out of the ordinary there. Then we come on to the headset. Now, in the UK, Giant are actually being reamed by someone for, I think it was a couple £100,000. So it'll be like maybe $250,000 US dollars for steering failures. So the steerer tube actually came out, and it went to the lawyers and all that kind of stuff, and they made a pretty packet. Not much to report in here. Normally around, oh, where's the fucking pen? Here you get some small like holes and imperfections. Is because you've got a non-uniform cross section. There's not really anything there. You know, I would say that was fairly cleanly made. There's plenty of meat around the seat. So if you look here, that's a decent seat. Okay, this bit's a bit scabby, but I wouldn't really, you know, I'm going looking for that. And also the seat around here obviously also looks quite good. I think there's a layer of something else in between, maybe fiberglass or some other fiber because it's a different colour. But don't know for sure. And obviously, I mean, I was going to say a disclaimer about this. I'm looking off some pictures. It's not in front of me, so I'm not, you know, flaking it around looking at it. Now, there is some layer shift in here. So if you look here, you see those, they look like little wrinkles. Now that can be one of two things. That can be air, or, I mean, the adhesive is anaerobic, so it doesn't need air to function. It, you know, it doesn't give off bubbles. But if you get air trapped in there, that's one thing. The other thing is you can have a layer shift. So if you've got multiple layers of material, let's say the top layer was to shift and then bunch up, and you'd end up with that. And that might be what that is. For this, I wouldn't say that's a huge deal. That looks like layer shift, possibly some air. Yeah, I wouldn't really go fretting too much around that. This is the bottom bracket area. Now initially when I looked at it, I thought, oh, it looks fairly clean, but it's actually, I wouldn't say it's that good. If you look here, this pen shit, we'll go back to the red one, right? Pointer option, pen, colour, red. Oh yes, right, back to here, right. Oh yeah, that's much better pen iteration. You can see that the wall thickness around the bottom bracket is not uniform, and that is considered in the bearing world to be fairly poor engineering practice. Now, if you have a look at some of the bottom brackets where someone's actually measured them correctly and not with a fucking Aldi vernier caliper, sorry, Amazon vernier caliper, they tend to be oval on Giant bikes, and quite a few of them are sort of undersized in one direction, so let's say in that direction, and then oversized in the other direction. And it's probably due to, well, a number of factors, but this kind of like non-consistent, I mean, it's almost like a razor blade. It's just decaying from very thick to nothing. So you get inconsistent compression around the bearing. Now, you know, some people will say, oh, that fucking Ambini is being pedantic. Well, you've spent £4 grand on a bike frame, you'd expect kind of like perfection. What we could have done with is some measurements before it had been shredded up. But yeah, that's a comment. You've also got some, in fact here, you can see the layer shift, and you can also see, if you look very carefully, some of you might have to squint at the screen, it looks like that. So I've just sort of drawn a diagram like that. That is filled with resin at that point, it looks to be, but it is a layer shift. So if it's shifted there, that means somewhere else there isn't anything. Yeah, I mean, on the top layer, or the innermost layer, it probably isn't going to be a showstopper, but you know, something to consider. I don't know if this is a sticker or some rough sawing, but yeah. The other comment I would say is the way the rib nuts have been put in look to be very clean. So it looks like someone's reamed the hole out before putting the rib nut in, because there's no real fraying around it. So that is good. This is not good. It's not a showstopper, but it's not good. So you've got the usual wrinkling around here, or some people call it tenting. And some of my composite engineer friends think it's just a fucking hilarious term because it means something else. Trouser tenting. Anyway, right, in here, where there's a joint, you can quite clearly see the voids. That, it does present a structural weakness, but the likelihood is, and looking at that, Giant have put more surface area in than they need, so there is a factor of safety to allow for their shite joint, let's say. I mean, it's not pretty, but it's just sort of air has been, it looks like it's entraining the adhesive. So they use the word bonding, I would probably call that glued. But yeah, so there's some voids in there, and in there. Doesn't look, I mean, the frame's not in front of me, so I can't tell for sure that it's not in the carbon. But I would probably, I think that one probably is. That one looks like it's an adhesive. And then round here, I mean, you can see the voids sort of happen in clusters. So that, and then we've got this as well, which I think I've got on the next slide. Maybe not. And that is the other side of the headset. Again, I mean, you'd say that looked fairly clean. I mean, this, I mean, it's not pretty, but I wouldn't say that's the end of the world. Now this, just around here, they look like voids to me. And then this, I'm not sure what that is. That could be the layer shift. because it looks like a defined line that goes across there, maybe. And then this one seemed to correspond to the same sort of area on the other side. I can't see from the picture if that's, you know, delamination. Well, I use the word delamination. It's where the blade's gone through and it's started to lift the fibres or not. Yeah, and then there again, I mean, some of the bladings, the cutting operation will damage the frame. Raise all link on slide. I'm not sure what this is. I mean, this looks, it almost looks like there's a joint and then the fibre, the topmost layer, has lifted. Don't know. So I'll pass verdict on that one. This is the bottom bracket. I mean, you can get a better appreciation of what I meant by the inconsistent cross section. So if you, oh bollocks, fucking hell, right. If you look there, it's quite thin. Here, you see how thick that is? It's considerably thicker. Generally, good engineering practice will be to leave like 3, you know, if you get to say 3 mil, I'm making this number up, but 3 mil, anything over that is like diminishing returns. It's not really going to make 3/10 of fuck all difference. But when you get to sort of that sort of size, which is like 1 mil, if that, it does make a difference, because when you put the interference fit in, you've got asymmetrical loads, so non-uniform loads, so it's not ideal. This bit does look, to be honest, a bit scabby around here, and you've got some excess adhesive. The excess adhesive is not really an issue. Around here also looks a bit scabby, and then that looks like a void. Might not be, it just looks in the picture like a void. But then you go, I've been looking through the whole frame and not found that many voids. But yeah, that bottom bracket, if it was, let's say if it was on the outside, you'd say it was shit because it wasn't concentric. Because it's on the inside and you can't see it, well, you just don't worry about it. There you go. This is the bottom bracket, and this looks like some voids, and this clearly hasn't been faced, because you can see it looks like overspray, which sort of takes this, see, oops, around here, fucking hell, it's not a consistent line, and it just doesn't look like it's been faced. That is it. Now, if you did enjoy that presentation, remember to leave Camo a like and a stupid sexual innuendo for a comment, and I'll hand you straight back over to him right now.